Hello students. In this video, we are going to learn about tenses. First of all, what is meant by tense? Tense is a form of the verb which shows the time at which an action happens. This word comes from Latin word tempus, which means time. Usually, we have three types of tenses. Those are past, present, and future. And we have different forms to each and every type of tense. That is simple form, continuous form, perfect form, and perfect continuous form. So, for example, see here, I have taken one single sentence in all different forms of the tenses. So, this is the basic tense, that is, he writes a letter. He writes a letter. This is in present form. And he wrote a letter is in simple past, and he will write a letter is in simple future. He was writing a letter past continuous. He is writing a letter present continuous. He will be writing a letter future continuous. He had written a letter. This is past perfect. He has written a letter. This is present perfect. He will have written a letter. That is future perfect. Future Past perfect continuous. He had been writing a letter. He has been writing a letter. It is in present perfect continuous. He will have been writing a letter. It is in future perfect continuous. Of course, we are going to deal these things in deep in the coming slides. Just to give an overview of the forms of these tenses, I have taken one single example and the same sentence I have written in different forms of tenses. And let us take one by one. First we'll discuss simple present. So, what is the form of this? And when it comes to the uses, which kind of actions are put in simple present tense? Let us see the form first. So, when you construct a sentence in simple present tense, the form of the sentence should be like this, that is, subject plus V1. V1 in the sense base form of the verb. This is the base form. For example, I've taken one word, work. Work is, like we have three forms of the verb. Past form we have, present form, and past participle form we have. Now here we are using the first form of the verb, that is work. So with all these persons, that is I, we, you, they, we use this base form as work. When it comes to the third person singular, we add s to the verb. This is the basic change that we have to remember when we are constructing the simple present tense sentences. So with first person, second person, and third person plural, we get work, but with third person singular, we get works. That means we are adding yes. So with third person singulars, we have to add yes or es to the verb. So that is the basic rule that we have to remember. Let us see the uses of this. So when to construct the sentence in simple present tense. That means which type of actions falls under simple present tense. Use the simple present tense to represent general facts. When we are talking about general facts, usually we construct the sentence in simple present tense. That means the form of the sentence should be in simple present tense. So let us see the example. This shirt. So of what we are talking in this sentence is of shirt. Shirt falls under third person singular. And so the verb, what we have used, cost, we have added yes to this verb. The shirt costs $10. This is a general statement. This is a general statement. Usually, when we are trying to convey or express about the general things or in general, then we have to make use of simple present tense form only. So let us take the other example. We speak English. Here we, this is the first person plural. So we are using first person plural here and V1 form of the verb here. So we speak English. This is the form of the simple present tense. Usually we get a subject and we get the verb, that is V1 form. So we have a subject here, we, and the verb V1, that is speak. So to express general facts, we use simple present tense. And also we use this simple present tense to represent the actions that happen regularly. So regularly. And see this example. I take guitar lessons on Wednesday nights. On Wednesday nights, that means every Wednesday. So he's referring that, you know, regularly the things will go on Wednesdays. So I take, here I is the subject, take is the verb which is in V1 form. I take guitar lessons on Wednesday nights. So this happens regularly, and so we constructed this sentence in simple present tense. Sarah sometimes eats lunch in her office. So what is the subject of the sentence? Of whom we are speaking here? Sarah. So Sarah is third person singular. Is the name of a person, and it's singular. So it is third person singular, and so the verb eat, to the verb eat we have added yes. So this is the major thing that we have to remember while we are constructing the simple present tense sentences. That means when you are using third person singular as the subject of the sentence, then you have to add s or es to the verb based on the word that you are using. So Sarah sometimes eats lunch in her office. So sometimes eats lunch, it's a general thing, like it happens lunch in her she eats lunch in her office. Now let us see the other form of this present tense, that is present continuous. So how the form of the sentence would be is subject plus, we use be form verbs here as helping verbs. Be form verbs are am, is, are. So these three are be form helping verbs, present verbs. These are not past form of the verbs, these are present form of the verbs, helping verbs plus the main verb in ing form. So we are using the main verb in ing form. So let us see that, with all the persons, like with first person singular we get am, with first person plural second person, and third person plural we get are, third person singulars he, she, it we get is. So the helping verbs, whatever that we use to construct this present continuous tense. So with each and every person you could see here, with I we use am, with we, you, they we use are, with he, she, it we use is. So usually the form of the sentence would be subject plus helping verb be form plus verb in ing form. Let us see the uses of this present continuous tense. So when we use such form of the tense to express, like mm, which actions are put in present continuous. So for a continuous action in progress at the moment is the thing which you have to remember. So at the moment, if something is in progress, to express that action we use this present continuous form. I am currently studying biology at university. So at the moment, I am currently studying biology at university, so the action is in progress. I is the subject, and we have used along with I the helping verb am, and currently, of course, like adverb, studying verb plus verb in ing form, that is study plus ing, studying. So I'm currently studying biology at university. Bill cannot talk on the phone right now. He is doing his homework. So some action is in progress. So he with along with he we have used a helping verb, that is. He is doing his homework. We are watching TV at the moment. So if some action is in progress at the moment, that kind of action, it should be expressed in present continuous tense. And one more thing we have for future plans or arrangements. Like if you plan to do something in future, or if you have made any arrangements to do something in future, then we construct the sentence, or to express that also we use present continuous tense. See, for example, I'm having lunch with Jack tomorrow. That means you have already planned for this, and so we have kept that in present continuous. So I'm having lunch with Jack tomorrow. My sister is driving me to the airport on Saturday. So Tim and John are joining us for dinner next week, or joining us for dinner next week. So such kind of things, such kind of actions which you have planned to do in future, or which for which you have made some arrangements, to express such actions we use present continuous form. And one thing we have to be very careful when you are framing the sentence in present continuous. Be careful, some verbs are never used in the present continuous. Like, uh, for example, like want, need, believe. So, such verbs, those are not action words. So, when you are using such words, you have to be very careful that these verbs should not be used in form. So, I am believing in God. So, you can't say that. So, the form of the verb should be V1 only. I believe in God. She's wanting a soda. So, we can't say that. So, she wants a soda. So, when you are using such verbs, which are not the action verbs, you know, which express some mental actions. So such verbs are not kept in present continuous. It should not be used in present continuous form. The other third form of this present tense is present perfect. So what is the form of this sentence? We have subject plus, as it is perfect tense, we have to use have forms here. Have or has. It depends on the person which we are using. Plus verb, and this verb has to be in the third form, that is past participle form. So we have three forms to verb. One is present form, other is past form, other is past participle form. So we have to remember that in perfect tenses we use V3 form of the verb. So have is used with first person, second person, and third person plural, and has is used with third person singular. So this is the difference in the usage of have or has. And let us see the examples. So like when we use this present perfect tense, or which actions fall into present perfect tense, with actions that happened in the past at an unspecified time. When you are not referring to any time there, when there is no time reference of the action, then usually we put those actions, or we put such sentences in present perfect tense. Let us see. I have met several celebrities. So when you have met, so the time reference is not given here. So such actions can be expressed in present perfect tense only, because there is no time reference here and something happened at an unspecified time. So such actions we can keep it in present perfect tense, or we can express that in present perfect tense. I have met several celebrities when there is no time reference. So we have used present perfect tense. I, with I we have to use have. So we have used have. I have. And met. Meet. Meet is the base form. Met, you know, is a second form. V2 form also we use the same word, and V3 also we get the same word. We have met several celebrities. He has been to Australia several times. Been is the V3 form. He has been to Australia several times. So here, no specific time reference. So we have used present perfect tense. We have already taken the test when, so there is no time reference, and so we have kept that sentence in present perfect tense. Now, the second usage of this present perfect tense is with actions that began in the past and continue to the present. This is a combination of past and present. So when we are referring to such actions which began in the past and continue till present, such things also we keep in present perfect tense. See, for example, I have lived in this house for 5 years. I have lived in this house for 5 years. That means like you are referring to the past, and at present also you are living there. So when you want to refer to such actions, we use present perfect. Harry has worked at the same company since 1992. Since 1992, he has worked at the same company. That means at present also he is working in the same company. Now, the third uses of this is with actions that have never happened. With actions that have never happened. See, for example, I have never broken a bone. You have never done that. And so to represent such actions also we use present perfect tense. I have never broken a bone. I've never bought a car. My parents have never eaten sushi. So like such things, when you are trying to refer to actions that have never happened also, we use present perfect tense. Now, present perfect with ever, never. This is one thing which we have to carefully observe. The uses of present perfect tense with ever or never. The perfect present perfect is used with ever and never to talk about actions done at any time in a person's life or at any time in history until now. For example, use ever in questions only. So uses of this ever, when you are trying to use this ever in present perfect tense, then you have to make use this in questions only, not in statements. So we should not use this ever in statements. For example, see here, I have ever been to Japan. So this is a wrong construction of the sentence because it's a statement. We should not use ever in statements. Instead, we can say, I have been to Japan. So, use never in statements, but only with have or has, not with haven't or hasn't. So, when you are using a negative word, there is no need of using again have not or has not. Again, double negatives we have to avoid. When you are using never in present perfect tense, use it in statements only with have or has. For example, see here, my sister hasn't never seen Titanic. Hasn't is negative, never is negative, double negatives we are using, and we are not supposed to use double negatives in a sentence. Instead, we can say, my sister has never seen Titanic. My sister hasn't seen Titanic. So there are two ways of saying that or expressing that. So when you are using never, again, you should not use not with have. If you are using not with have, then you are not supposed to use never. These are the two exceptions that you have to remember when you are using ever or never with present perfect tense. That means ever should be used only in questions, never should be used in statements, that too with have or has. So we have other words also which we usually use with present perfect tense. Those are already, at, recently, lately, and just. So these are the words which we usually use with present perfect tense. Let us see the uses of these each and every word. The words already, at, recently, lately, and just all refer to a recent and non-specific time. So when you are referring to actions that happened at an unspecified time, then we use these already, at, recently, lately, and just. A specific time would be yesterday or 3 hours ago or last Friday. So if there are no such specific time reference in a sentence, then we use these words such as already, at, recently, lately, and just. Now let us see the uses of already and at. Already can be used in positive statements and questions. Only in positive statements and questions, not in negative statements. I have already read today's newspaper. This is one of the example. Have you already paid the electricity bill? This is a question. So this is a statement and this is a question. So already can be used in positive statements. Remember, it's not negative statements, positive statements and questions. Already can go in between have or has and the past participle also. So, or at the end of the sentence. Sometimes it may, like the position of this already, like it can be between the helping verb and the main verb, or it may go at the end of the sentence also sometimes. At can be used in negative statements and questions. This is the difference. Already can be used in positive statements and questions. At can be used in negative statements and questions. We haven't cleaned the house yet. Haven't. This is a negative statement. So we have used it. Has he told you the good news yet? Has he told you the good news yet? Okay. So this is a question. So we have used with questions and negative statements. At usually goes at the end of the sentence. Usually we place this at word at the end of the sentence when it is there in the sentence. Now let us see the other words also. Recently, lately, and just. Recently and lately can be used in positive statements, negative statements, or questions. So in these three things we can use these recently or lately. See some examples. He has recently lost some weight. This is a statement. He has recently lost some weight. You have to notice that we are not giving any specific time reference here when you are using these words. This is one thing which you have to remember. He has recently lost some weight. This is a statement. I haven't seen her recently. This is a negative statement. I haven't seen her recently. Have you spoken to Beth recently? This is a question. So, there's three kind of sentences we use this recently. Lately, I have gotten a lot of spam emails lately. Adam and Jessica haven't been to church lately. Have you seen any good movies lately? So we have got one positive statement, negative statement, and question. Now let us see just. Usually means very recent, just in the sense it happened very recently. Is typically only used in positive statements and questions. Remember, just is used only in positive statements and questions. Do not touch the walls. I have just painted them and they are still wet. I have just painted them and they are still wet is a positive statement. What book have you just finished reading? This is a question. What book have you just finished reading? So this is a question. Just is used with positive statements and questions. That too in perfect tense only. Now, present perfect with for and since. Present perfect is also used with for and since to talk about actions that began in the past and continue to the present. So this is the second usage what we have discussed. The present perfect is also used with for and since to talk about actions that began in the past and continue to the present. That is combination of past and present. I have lived here since 2004. I have lived here for 8 years. See what's the difference? Like since is used with a point of time and means from that point in time until the present. So since 2000, from that point of time till the present, that means at present also I am living here. I have lived here for 8 years. That means for period of time. Like sorry, we are discussing about since, right? Since with point of time, that is specific point of time here, we can use since with dates or with times or with past events. That is, I was a child, he graduated from college, etc. Since I was a child, since he graduated from the college, like some time reference, a particular point of time. Since is always used with present perfect and not the simple past. So we should not use this since with simple past. Now, I've gone to the beach every year since I was a child. This is what past event reference, like particular point of time in your past. I've gone to the beach every year since I was a child. So this is a repeated action that continues till today. I went to the beach when I was a child. Finish the action. So I went to the beach when I was a child. That means you're referring, this is in simple past tense. So the difference in the meaning is it continued till present, but this is a kind of finished action at a specific time in the past. That means at present I don't go to the beach. Okay. So this is the difference of simple past and present perfect. Present perfect is a combination of past tense and present tense, that is till the moment. And simple past refers only to the past time. Present perfect with for and since, like we have discussed how to use since, now we'll go with for. For is used with a time period, a period of time, and means for that period of time till the present. Use for with times of any length, that is duration, 5 seconds, 8 hours, 2 days, 6 weeks, 9 months, 10 years, a decade, centuries, etc. Be careful with for because using the present perfect or the simple past can change the meaning. We have lived in Berlin for 6 months. We have lived in Berlin for 6 months. That means we live in Berlin now. We lived in Berlin for 6 months. That means we don't live in Berlin now. So we have lived in the sense present perfect. We lived in the sense simple past. So this is a kind of thing that is from past to present. That means we live it in present. You are living in Berlin. But here the second sentence means that they don't live in Berlin now. In some cases, the present perfect simple and present perfect continuous are same. So what is the difference, slight difference between the present perfect form and present perfect continuous form? I have worked here since 1992. That means I have been working here since 1992. Both the things gives the same meaning. I have worked here since 1992. I have been working here since 1992 gives the same meaning that at present also he is working there. However, we often use the present perfect continuous to emphasize the action and the present perfect simple to emphasize the result. That means present perfect is used to emphasize the result. Present perfect continuous is used to emphasize the action. Let us take this example. I've been working on this report for 3 weeks. That means we are emphasizing the action of working. I've been working on this report for 3 weeks. I have finished this project. That means we are emphasizing the project is done. So when you are emphasizing the result, you know, we use present perfect tense. When you are emphasizing the action, we use present perfect continuous tense. We have been cleaning the house all afternoon. We are emphasizing the action here. We have cleaned the bathroom and the kitchen. Something finished, like emphasizes the fact that the bathroom and kitchen are done. So this is the basic difference. Both of them gives the same meaning, but when you are emphasizing the result of what is done, then we use present perfect. When you are emphasizing the action, then we use present perfect continuous. Remember, the state verbs are never used in continuous forms. Like, I have been knowing my best friend since elementary school. Knowing, this know is a word, like it's not an action word, of course. It indicates some state of action. So I have known my best friend since elementary school. We should not use such words in continuous form. She has been understanding. This is something meant with action which relates to mind. So we never use the actions relates to mind in continuous form. So this is one thing which we have to remember. This is a mistake. So we have to use she has understood everything in the advanced class so far. Now, in spoken English, we often use present perfect continuous to talk about ways you have spent your time recently. Like, hi Jonah, what have you been what have you been up to lately? I've been training for a karate competition. I have been training for a karate competition. Wow, good luck. And how is your son? He's good. He has been studying a lot lately because finals are coming up next week. So when we are using this, in spoken English, we often use present perfect continuous to talk about ways we have spent our time recently. So I've been training, he has been studying. So these are some of the examples uh, in which we can express the things. Now, the second type of tense is simple past. I mean, like past tense. In that, the first form is simple form. So, what is the form of the verb? What is the form of the sentence? So, simple past tense, the sentence contain subject plus verb, that is V2 form. Use the past simple tense in English for events that started and finished in the past. So, for events that started and finished in the past. So, I worked as a research assistant from 2001 to 2003. It was all in the past, so we just try to refer that in simple past tense. He called me 10 minutes ago. Like it is some 10 minutes ago is the time reference, is a past time reference, and so we have put this in simple past tense. We went to the Bahamas last summer. We went to Bahamas last summer. Last summer is also a time indicator, past time indicator. We put it in simple past tense. So we have to be very careful with the verbs that we are using, because the form of the verb, sometimes there are some verbs which have different forms in three phases. Like V1 would be one form, and V2 would be the other form, and V3 would be the other form. So we have to be very careful with such irregular verbs when we are using them, because for simple past tense we use the second form. See here, for example, sit is the word, like is the verb, and when we see that same word in the V2 form, the spelling has changed, sat. Now when you just take the second example, drink, it has become drank, give, gave, eat, ate, write, wrote. We should know the exact form of the verb before we use it in the we use it for constructing a tense. Now the second form of past tense is past continuous. The form of the word would be subject plus be form plus verb in the ing form. So what are the be forms that we use for past continuous? Was, were. It depends on the person that we are using. So with we, you, they, we use were. With I, he, she, it, we use was. So if the subject of the sentence is we, then we use were. If it is she, then we use was. Like it depends on the person that we are using. So when to use this past continuous form? So we use this past continuous for events that were in progress in the past, often when another one time event happened. So usually when we are referring to two past actions, and that too one action in progress and one was done, to refer to such a context, we use this past continuous. See this example. Sorry, I didn't pick up the phone. I didn't pick up the phone. I was taking a shower when you called. So what happened? Like, when one thing happened, the other was in progress. When he was taking a shower, the phone, someone called him. So one was done and one was in progress. So when you are referring to such actions, we use past continuous. Like he was sleeping on the couch when I got home. Two things happened. One was in progress, the other was done. He was sleeping on the couch when I got home. When I saw Tina and Sam at the park earlier today, they were arguing. I saw what was happening then. They were arguing. So for events that were in progress in the past, we use past continuous. So what is the difference? Like when we use, like how we use the simple past tense and past continuous in a sentence. The past continuous is often used together with the simple past tense to show that one thing happened while another thing was in progress. For example, I was talking on the phone when my sister arrived. So when my sister arrived, something was something happened when something was in progress. So what happened? Her sister arrived when she was talking on the phone. So this was in progress and this happened. He was drinking beer when he suddenly fell sick. She took a photo as we were getting out of the bus. So this was in progress and this happened. We were waiting for the bus. This was in progress. When she saw a car accident, this was done. So when you are referring to two actions, two past actions, that too, when while one was in progress, the other happened. So to represent such actions, we use simple past tense and past continuous. The third form of this past tense is past perfect. So the past perfect is the past before the past. It's a little confusing, but you have to be very careful to understand this. The past perfect is the past before the past. You can use it to talk about an event that happened before another event in the past. See, with an example, had, so the form of this past perfect is we use had, that means had is a have forms. In have forms, we have the past form of the have is had. Past participle means V3 form. So in past perfect, we have to use had plus V3 form. See this example. I had studied English for several years before I traveled to the US. So there are two actions here. Before one action, the other happened, but both happened in past only. So we are referring to two past actions. One happened before the other. Like I had studied English, this happened first, and later I traveled to the US. So to represent such action which happened first, we use the past perfect. See this one, I hadn't studied English before I traveled to the US. The same thing we have used here. But it is a negative statement. Had you studied English before you traveled to the US? So this is a question. So in this sentence, we have two actions which happened in the past. One action happened before the other action. See this example. Imagine you are late for work on the day of an important meeting. Imagine you are late for work on the day of an important meeting. So the context is like this. The meeting started at 8. You arrived at 8:15. So this is something happened in the past. The meeting started at 8. You arrived at 8:15. So how to express this in one single sentence? The meeting had already started by the time I arrived. The meeting had already started means it started at 8. By the time I arrived, you arrived at 8:15. So by the time you arrived, the meeting had already started. So to express such kind of things, we use this past perfect tense. Now let us see one more example. Before the divorce, they were married for 3 years. See the example sentence. They were married from 2008 to 2011. They got divorced in 2011. That means they were married for 3 years. You can use the past perfect to say they had been married for 3 years when they divorced. Like here. So something happened before 3 years and the other action happened exactly after 3 years. And to refer these two actions in one single sentence, we are putting one thing which happened earlier in past perfect, the other thing in simple past tense. It's common to use the shortened D. This you have to, like, when you construct the sentence, we use shortened form of the verb sometimes. So when you get this D, that doesn't, that means like it is had. It is a shortened form of had. They had. They had been. When I checked my cell phone, I saw that she had called me twice. She had called me. She had called me twice. So these are some of the examples for this. Single words for the past perfect. Sorry, signal words for the past perfect. So we use such words, means like time expressions in past perfect. For example, by the time, when, before, until, said. I had finished all the work by the time you called. When we arrived at the airport, our flight had already left. When is the time expression. Before we sold our car, we had owned it for 12 years. Before is one more time expression. I had never met a native English speaker until he visited London. She said that she had lost her wallet. Some of the signal words which you can like find in these sentences which are framed in past perfect tense. The simple past and past perfect are often in the same sentence, but not necessarily. It's possible for the first sentence to establish the context of the past and for the following sentence to be in past perfect. For example, I first met John in 2001. Okay, this is a context actually. So the series of actions that happened we have represented here. I first met John in 2001. He had been looking for work for the past 2 years. Although he had gone for interviews in several big companies, nobody had hired him. So this happened in 2001, and before that, what he was doing, he had been looking for the past for work for the past 2 years. Although he had gone for interviews in several big companies, nobody had hired him. So all these things happened before you met him in 2001. So this is in simple past tense, and whatever that happened before 2001, these are all represented in past perfect only. So this is how we can make use of this past perfect while constructing the sentences. The last form of this past tense is past perfect continuous. So what is the form of this? Had plus been plus verb in ing form. Had plus been plus verb in ing form. So when we use this past perfect continuous to represent past actions that continued up to another point in the past. Like let us see this. Before I lost my job, I had been working on some important projects. Before I lost my job. That means it is some point in the past. So before this point of time, what he was doing or what was the action that was in progress. I had been working on some important projects. Working was a continuous action until the point I lost my job. Now, they had been hoping Pat would make a full recovery after the accident, but he died. Hoping was a continuous action until Pat died. So we use this past perfect continuous to represent past actions that continued up to another point in the past. That is, through these examples, I think you could easily understand this. She had already been studying English by herself for several years by the time she started taking classes. So this is some point in the point of time in the past. Till this point of time, she was doing something. What is that? She had already been studying English. So this was in progress till this point of time. Studying English by herself was a continuous action until the time when she started the classes. So past in the past. Now let us see future tense. There are two ways to form simple future. So this is the basic form of the sentence. I'll call you at 7 p.m. I is the subject plus will is the indication for future tense. The verb is in V1 form only. So let us see. We have two ways to use this simple future tense. One way is we use going to form to represent the simple future tense. When we use this, instead of using this will, we use going to. So when we use this going to form for plans, arrangements, and predictions, means, see here, after I graduate from college, I'm going to study for a master's degree. This is something which is going to happen in future. That means you have planned already to do something in future, that is doing a master's. After I graduate from college, so what is your plan? I'm going to study for a master's degree. So when you are representing your plans, your future plans, you can make use of going to expression to represent that future action. We are going to move to a different city next year. We are going to move to a different city next year. Next year is a time indication that it is something going to happen in future. But we are using here going to. That means we are using this expression to represent your future plans. I think the current president is going to be re-elected. I think it's a prediction. I think the current president is going to be re-elected. So when you are trying to represent some predictions also, we use this going to expression. And the other form is we use will to represent future, simple future tense. So when we use this will is to express promises, offers, predictions, decisions made in the moment of speaking. All these things which are made in the moment of speaking. So see here, for example, I'll call you later. This is a promise. Offer, will give you a ride home. Prediction, I have a feeling that this new singer will become very popular. This is just a prediction. I will have the spaghetti and side order of salad. Like this is a decision made in the moment. So these are some of the examples where we use this will to frame the future simple tense. Now let us see future continuous. So I'll be having dinner at 7 p.m. I will be having dinner at 7 p.m. So this is something which is going to be in progress in future. A future continuous, when you will be use the future continuous when you will be in the middle of doing something at a point in the future, at a point of time in the future. That means exactly at this point you will be doing something. So don't call me at 6 because I'll be driving home from work. So something will be in progress at some time in at some point of time in future. At 10:30 tomorrow morning, we'll be giving a presentation in English class. So you'll be doing or some action will be in progress at that particular point of time in future. He'll be watching the football game tonight at 8. So when you are referring to actions which will be in progress at a point of time in future, then those actions are put in future continuous. Now let us see future perfect. So at a certain point of time, you will have finished doing something. Like use future perfect when an action will happen between now and a future time. Between now and a future time. So I will have written a book before I am 40. At present, you might be 35 or 36. You will have written a book before you are 40. So by the time we get to the theater, the movie will have started already. By the time we get to the theater, this is some point of time. Like by this time, what would have happened? The movie will have started already. We will have traveled to 12 different countries by 2015. So there's something in future. At is often used with the future continuous, and by or before is often used with future perfect. This is one thing which you have to remember. So the time expressions that we use. At is used often used with future continuous tense, but by and before is often used with future perfect tense. By 2015. By the time, before, such expressions. Future perfect continuous. By the time her plane arrives at 7 p.m., I will have been waiting for 4 hours. So, this is one kind of example for future perfect tense. Use the future perfect and continuous with actions that will continue up to your future point. That will continue up to a future point. By the time she graduates, she will have been studying for 7 years. This is a point of time in the future. By this time, she will have been studying for 7 years. By 7 p.m., I'll have been working on this project for 8 hours straight. So by 7 p.m., that means, to that point in the future, she will have been working on the project for 8 hours. By this time next year, they'll have been living in Japan for 2 decades. So these are all expressions like which we represent the actions that will continue up to a future point in future perfect continuous tense. That is, but it is a very rare uses. Like we rarely construct such type of sentences. By the time are commonly used with future perfect continuous tense. So by this time, by 7 p.m., by the time, such are the time expressions that we use with these tenses. And let us review all the things once again. So we have three types of tenses: present tense, past tense, and future tense. And each and every tense has four forms, that is simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. So according to the, the context or the time of the action, we make use of each and every tense appropriately. That means if you are referring to an action which happened in the past, whether that action was in progress or that action completed or that was in progress at a certain point of time, you know based on that we have to choose an appropriate form of the tense, and then we have to make use of that. So already we have discussed a lot of usages for each and every form of the tense. So based on those rules, we have to make use of these forms of tenses to express the actions happen in different time periods. I hope you understand the thing. Thank you. Thank you very much.